Welcome to the Pool Nation podcast, where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. We talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Now let's welcome your host, with over a decade of industry insider experience and still the reigning champion of Marco Polo, Edgar De Jesus, and his co-host, John JJ Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and Zach the Pool Boy Nicholas.
Welcome, everyone, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. I'm your host, Edgar De Jesus, and yes, I am the reigning champion of Marco Polo, along with John J.J. Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and the famous Zach, the Pool Boy Nicholas. Today, we're jumping into something that most people don't think about until they're already overwhelmed and buried in chaos, and that is systems. And here's the deal, everybody. If your entire business lives in your head or depends on you showing up every day to make decisions and put out fires, let me tell you this, you don't own a business, you own a job. And let's be real, that's not why you started this. I want to welcome everyone to our live podcast, the podcast where it's all pool talk, and we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. And yes, we will talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. But before we get started, I want to thank our visionary partners for this podcast, the SPPA, Blu-ray XL, Aquastar Pool Products, Natural Chemistry, Raypack, Heritage Pool Supply, Hayward Pool Products, Poolside Tech, Pool Brain, and our newest member of the family, Night Deck Motors. We want to thank them for their continued support. Mr. Zacharias, what's going on?
I'm alive. Last night, you did a little wellness check on me. I've been a ghost, but it's interesting because we're about to get into systems, right? And I love this stuff, but that's exactly where I've been living. Seems like most of this year. Going into 2025, we made a plan of, okay, this year we're not focused on trying to grow a bunch or any of that. What we're focused on, we call it our fine-tuning year, is really dialing in some of these things that we're talking about. So I think this is a very important conversation and topic to get into for so many reasons, and we're going to dive into that. But that's where I've been for the last week, is just buried in trying to knock some of this stuff out.
No, totally get it. I was a little worried because I hadn't heard from you for a couple of days. I had to send the, hey, if I don't hear from you, I'm calling for the wellness check. And by the way, Leslie, don't try to trick me if you killed Zach off and you're going to tell me, oh, I'm fine, I'm blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I know how Zach talks, even when he texts. So Zach.
Code word.
Send me the code word. Send me something that the boys chat only knows that you, Leslie, won't know. Oh, it's crazy out there. Hey, excited to be here to talk about this topic today. Before we jump in, what we want to do is talk about a couple of things we have going on. The nominations for the Pool Nation Awards are going to open early this year. That's going to be June 18th. And then we are going to do the nomination night, which is going to be on Wednesday, August 20th. We'll do that on our Instagram Live. And then right after that is going to be the Women's Summit on August 21st and 22nd at Heritage Headquarters in McKinney, Texas, out in the Dallas area. We already have about 74 women signed up. It's completely crazy.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. We got some amazing women to come in and talk about the different topics and stuff like that. And we're excited about that. We're really excited that Doreen has joined the team. We've been working really hard on all the content. So if you haven't listened to the prior podcast, go and take a listen to it. Take a look at the roadmap that we've created and the learning path for everybody. With that said, Zach, a lot of our focus this year for the Pool Nation Conference is really going to be high focus on the business side. And really, it's the only business conference for the pool pro in the industry, and we're going to go hard. And I want to talk about some of the courses that we're going to be teaching there that we've put together with Doreen and some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So we are going to have the hands-on, we are going to have the technical, we are going to have the business, and then the team members that are part of the Matrix group will get their own educational courses that are separate. So not everybody can get into that. You have to be part of the Matrix to be able to get into that. But I wanted to talk about some of the business courses that we are going to be teaching. And I'll take the first one, Zach, which is going to be turning pools into profits and how to build a business, not just a route. Really discovering how to shift from technician to business owner and maximize every pool on that route. And we'll talk about the different stages and phases of how to be able to get there and do that.
The next one we'll have is turning metrics into money, what your financials are telling you. And it's important that not everyone's as good of a guesser as I am, I guess I should say. So it's really important, though, honestly, that we're driving our businesses based off data and metrics and hard numbers. Guessing is a really dangerous way to do it. And a lot of times it can mislead you. So this is going to be a good class about learning about metrics and what you should be looking at.
Yeah, and I'm really excited because a lot of the people from the Matrix, I've been having a lot of calls going through with different people, making sure that everybody's tracking their expenses the way that we asked them to do with the chart of accounts so that they could see that data and know their numbers and know exactly where they're at. And I'm really excited about it because there's a lot of people that are putting a lot of effort into it and they're on track. So the next one is going to be know your costs, grow your profits, business made with simple math made simple for pool pros. And really, it's learning the exact formulas and methods to price your service right and to be able to protect your bottom lines, right? And we talk about that all the time, which is how do you know what to price your service at? How do you price your repairs and stuff like that? So we'll get into some of that math so that you can figure that out.
The next one is financial planning and exit strategy, how to build value and prepare for the future. And I think this is important. I talk about vision all the time, right? And like planning for that future. You have to be able to see what your exit is so that you can plan accordingly to make that happen successfully. And financial planning is extremely important. And that's, again, I'm currently on a lot of these journeys. As you know, Edgar, I'm currently working on that because we spend so much time chasing money, right? How do we make the next dollar? That's not the whole picture. The other half of that is how do we keep our dollars?
Yeah. And then the next one is going to be profit is not cash, mastering cash flow to stay in control all year. And we talk about it because profit on paper doesn't pay the bills, right? The cash is what's going to pay those bills, right? So learn how to avoid cash crunches and be able to build financial stability in your business. And this has always stuck in my head since Denbar said it. And I said, oh, Hal, I'm going to steal that from you to use it. And that is that, you can run out of profit, but you can't run out of cash flow, right? If you run out of cash flow, you're done. So that's really important when it comes to the financials to be able to master that, to be able to scale. Day two, when we move on to that, is really going to be a lot of the talent life cycle. And really, we're going to start with the basics of building skills for business success. Really, it's so that you can unlock the full potential of your team by mastering that talent life cycle. Really learn how to build skills at every stage that we talk about, whether it's performance, foster growth, create that thriving business and people-powered organization. And so we're going to do a deep dive into that one.
And then we'll have developing high-performing teams. Success starts with your people. And this is something that as we've grown and as everyone starts to grow and bring on people, this becomes so important because there is a lot more to motivating and inspiring people to buy into what you're trying to do and want to be there, create that loyalty and have a high performing team. And I think a lot of people, there's a misconception that like people are just naturally born leaders. And I think that's so far from the truth. And we keep talking about skills, and this is a skill as well, and skills can be learned. So this is going to be a super important class for those people that want to grow a team.
Yeah, the next one is going to be the power of partnerships, cultivating true collaboration in your team. And collaboration is not just working together, right? It's about working smarter together. And in this course, you're going to discover how to break down silos, enhance communication, and build that culture where ideas are going to flow freely. And you're going to bring your teams together to be able to solve problems, innovate, and achieve shared goals. It's really going to teach you the practical techniques to turn that collaboration into a powerful driver of productivity and success. And I know I'm not allowed to spill the tea on this one, Zach, but this one right here is going to be a class like no other one that we have done. It's really going to be a hands-on type class that's going to change so it's not really going to be a lecture. It's going to be an awesome one. And I know that this is going to be one where you're going to sit in and be like, all right, Edgar, I'm out. You can't call me for the next 2 hours and a half.
That's going to be the whole 2 days right there. The next one we have is dive into time management strategies, take control of your day and maximize productivity. And this course will introduce some practical time management techniques to help people prioritize, minimize those distractions, and make every minute count. And I think this is something that a lot of us struggle with. There's that whole saying about, are you basically just working and spinning your wheels, or are you maximizing on your time and working effectively? So this will really help people learn some of those techniques, which will ultimately reduce stress and give you more time to make impactful moves with your business.
This is a huge one that, when talking to Doreen and putting some of these things into place, has made me even more conscious of certain things and certain distractors, and really focusing on that time management, especially with what we do, Zach, because we do a lot of different things. We do things that require a lot of planning, a lot of detail. At the same time, we got to prepare podcasts, we got to prepare scripts, and everything has to be well thought out and stuff like that. And it's really given me a couple of different techniques to be able to put in play that I can say today I feel are a big part of my day and allowing me to be successful at putting a lot of these things into play. And then the last class that we're going to be doing is driving results through accountability, because at the end of the day, you're only going to be able to drive those results if you are holding yourself accountable and you're holding the people around you accountable. And we talk about it all the time. Accountability is really the engine of performance, right? And it's going to teach you how to create and set clear expectations, create ownership at every level. And we talk about it all the time, right? You can have a team member, you can have a manager, and one of the things that will make them successful is if they create that ownership at every level, right? If they find a problem, do they own it? Do they just pick it up and run it to the finish line? And this is going to teach you how to deal with that and foster that culture in your organization. So we're putting a lot of effort into that business side. We're really excited about it. We'll talk soon about the classes for the Matrix. The Matrix classes are going to be legit, because the Matrix classes are 2 hours. And for each class that you take, there is going to be a practical session to it. What do I mean by that? I mean that you'll do some learning, but then there's action steps that you have to do in that class. And there's even one class that we're going to do, and we've talked about it, and it's almost like the start, stop. It's start, stop, and continue, right? And what it is, it teaches you in your business to look at things and what you need to stop doing, what you need to start doing, and what things you need to continue to do. And so there's a process in that class where they go in and they partner up with other people. They start creating and working on a business plan for 2026. And in 2026, what are they going to start doing? What are they going to stop doing? And what are they going to continue to do? And that's going to drive them into 2026. So a lot of the classes that we do on the Matrix side are a little bit more intense. They're longer classes. They require a lot more work, but you're going to leave with a blueprint that you can put into play the very next day.
It's accountability right there. And all these classes that are in the conference, that even if you're not in the Matrix, I encourage everyone that wants to grow their business to step in and take all of these, because there's going to be a lot of information. And if you could take one nugget out of each class that you can go back and apply in your business immediately, it is going to be game changing. It doesn't matter what stage or phase you're in, there's going to be something for you to take away from the course and apply to improve your business.
We're excited about it. So we'll talk about the other tracks coming out here soon, and we will go from there. We do have something that's coming up that we'll be announcing soon. We'll be headed out back to California. We'll be headed out to, where, Zach? Where are we headed?
I know the location. I don't know the town.
Okay.
Oh, with Van Nuys.
Van Nuys. There you go.
Van Nuys.
We are going out to Heritage Pool Supply out in Van Nuys, California. And we are going to be at the PEP. We're going to be doing some training out there. We're going to be doing some hands-on. So stay tuned. Those are coming out. And the other thing that we're going to be doing is, when we go out there, we're going to be going to Aquastar. We'll be doing a little trip. We'll be doing a podcast. So stay tuned. Those details are coming out here very soon, but we are excited about it.
And I will make it this time. I won't be sick. As you can tell, I'm sick again.
You're sick right now.
Yeah. Trying to get it all out.
Hey, let's talk about today's topic, Zach, because we have been talking about the 5 habits that we've seen in really successful pool service companies, and in talking to whether it's one poolers to companies with 10, 13,000 pools, we've been trying to figure out what are the habits that make them successful. And we've done already 2 podcasts on it. Number 1 was really habit number 1, knowing their numbers. Habit number 2 is really investing in education and learning and that continued learning. And today we want to talk about habit number 3. And one of the things that we've noticed is that they build systems, not just skills. And there's some of those companies, Zach, that we drool over with all the procedures and all the systems that they have in place. And being a pool pro is awesome. But like I said before, if your entire business is going to depend on your memory, or it's going to depend on your physical presence, you've really built a job. You haven't built a business. And one of the things that, I heard somebody say, which has stuck with me, is a lot of times we go into business, and one of the things that we want to do is we want to make millions of dollars, right? We want our business to continue to grow and make millions and millions of dollars. And as a business owner, one of the things that you need to understand is that the only way that you're going to achieve that is if you scale. And you have to bring people onto your team, because if you're a solo business owner, there's only so much revenue you personally can bring in. And you can say, well, I'll work harder. Sure, you can work 5 days and then you go to 6 and then you go to 7. But even when you go to that 7, Zach, you're capped out. You physically cap out at a certain level and you can't bring in more income. And then there's a couple other danger things that start to come into play, whether it's burnout, fatigue, all those things. But I just want everybody to remember that if you want to grow a business and you want to scale, it's going to require you to bring on other people. And you have to create systems that are scalable so that you can bring people in and continue to step and repeat. And to do that, the number one thing that you need to do is you need to build systems for your team and for your company, so that as you bring those people in, it's a lot easier for them to come in, know exactly what it is that they need to do, know exactly what the system requires to make the company successful. Those systems are going to be those things that are going to free you from the daily grind. And it's a lot of different things, Zach, whether it's making customer service consistent, whether you're focusing on customer retention, which are going to be all those things. And the beautiful thing is they don't need to be complicated, Zach. So let's talk about a couple of them. Let's break some of those down so that we can give everybody kind of an idea. And I think what's going to happen, Zach, is we're going to get into a couple of them. We have some really cool ones that we want to talk about, but as soon as Zach and I looked at the script, we're like, oh, that's going to be more than one episode.
It's tradition.
Yeah, tradition. We want to keep it within the tradition. So let's talk about it. Let's start first, very simple, Zach. And creating systems can be something as easy as a route checklist. If you don't use software, nowadays there's a lot of software programs out there that can allow you to make sure that pools are serviced consistently. It could be you grow and now you have inventory, right? It could be just something as simple as an ordering schedule to avoid last minute runs to the distributor. And every business is different, Zach. In the hotel business, we used to use what we called par levels, right? And what we used to do is, when I was in housekeeping, if we knew that on a certain given month, we were going to go through 50 cases of toilet paper, what we did is we made sure we had a certain level. And every time that we ordered, we went off of that checklist and off of that level so that we wouldn't be caught all of a sudden not having something. So it could be as simple as creating a checklist with a par level to make sure that you have that inventory. It really could be a process for invoicing, whether it's following up, customer communication. Another one can be really training videos, right? Or instructions for new hires, which we'll dive deep into that one. It could be something as simple as a weekly review of accounts, right? To track issues and customer feedback and all that. But what Zach and I are going to start by telling you is start small. Choose one thing that you do frequently and then write out the next steps. And then what's going to happen is you're going to see that you're going to create the first system. And because what happens, Zach, is as business owners, we start to pick 50 things that we think that need to be worked on. And we start on working on all 50. And then you get that brain lock and then you just give up.
Yeah, that's something that I've gone through personally, where you all of a sudden get in the mode and you're like, I need to put these systems in place. And you sit down and you start throwing the ideas on the whiteboard. And next thing you know, you have a list of 50 to 100 things. And then all of a sudden you're just overwhelmed and it's like shut down. And the thing with systems, and the way I look at it is systems equal consistency, and consistency equals knowing what the expectations are for you as delivering a service and for the customer that's receiving the service. And when you have that expectation, you can manage and scale on that. Then you can dial in, everything else can follow. You can get your pricing, you can get your costs dialed into what they need to be. You can get your sales pitch down to what it needs to be. And that's really powerful right there. And then you create something, again, going back to consistency, that's consistent and it's scalable.
Yeah. And one thing that everybody needs to remember is as you're putting these processes in place, they take time. It's not like you're going to go and put that process in tomorrow and then 2 days later it's going to be solved. So some of these processes are going to take you time. You're going to have to tweak them. You're going to have to fix them. And I'll give you a perfect example. So we're talking to a lot of the people from the business matrix, and we're at that stage where they're trying to figure out their numbers. We're giving them a chart of accounts to start to use as a guide for their businesses. And a lot of people they want to be able to have it all by tomorrow. And that doesn't happen, right? You have to go in, you have to create the chart of accounts, you have to start making some changes. And then more importantly, you have to collect the data. And that takes a little bit of time in order to be able to get there. But they're starting to establish that process in order to be able to know financially where they are. And once they put that part into place, then they're going to be able to look at it on a monthly basis. And now that one is done, right? Now you move on to the next. But just be very cautious because exactly like Zach is saying, you can look at 50 things, you throw it all on the dry erase board, and then you're just kind of overwhelmed. And then you end up just not doing any of them because you're just overwhelmed. So
I want to make one more point about that too. One thing is you can get creative. That's what I love is we're the business owners. We don't have to necessarily follow how this person's doing the system or that person's doing the system. We can get creative with how we want to put the system and what we want it to look like and things like that. And that's something I love. And I've talked to a lot of people over the years and they're like, how do you do this? And I tell them and they're kind of like, well, why do you do that? And it's like, well, here's my reason on why I do it this way. And it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I love that. You don't have to necessarily mimic or replicate what someone else is doing. It's your business. Put the systems in place that fit your business and your goals.
yeah, and that's the beauty about business, right? What works for you is what works for you. And so there's 50 different ways to do it. You pick the one that works for you. And sometimes you pick a little bit of this and a little bit of that and you create your own, right? So that's the beauty of owning your own business. So I have to come back to the same thing that I was talking about earlier, Zach, and that is, and especially because I think we do this as business owners and pool pros at the beginning. And I remember when I started, everything lived in my head. I knew how everything needed to go, but it lived in my head, right? It's from the memory and the repetition. I knew my stops. I knew my customers. I knew the way that I wanted things done. The big issue with that is you can't hire or you can't grow if everything depends on you. You just can't. You can't scale. If the business is dependent upon you walking through that door every day, it's going to be very difficult to scale. So systems are going to allow you to offload what's in your head, and you're going to either put it into paper or into software or checklists or whatever it is. But for a lot of you business owners, and I have this conversation with a lot of pool pros, Zach, one of the things, you know what, I'm going to save it for when we talk about the training standpoint, and I'm going to share with everybody what I did to get everybody on path to doing the pools exactly how I wanted them to do. But eventually I had to offload that off my brain and I had to put it in writing and explain and train all the pool pros out there. You want to be able to create a business that if you step away from it, it's going to be able to continue to grow, right? You'll be able to take vacations. You'll be able to do things.
Yeah.
Without a system, the answer is no. And your business is going to take a hit.
And I'm guilty as charged. And like I was mentioning earlier, this is the year that we're really hammering down on this stuff because as we've grown and we have a big team of people now that have all different roles and responsibilities, and I started noticing there's a little bit of a misalignment. And for me, it's like, why are we not aligned on this and I started looking at it, and I'm like, all of this lives in my head, and then it ends up being a conversation across the table, and I'm like, okay, now go run with it. And then when it doesn't get done exactly how the system lives in my head, it's like, okay, why is this not doing? So I think that it's really important because, like you said, we're wanting to grow millions of dollars of size of business, and we can't do that without having an effective, high performing team around us. And my goal, and Eugene's the one that dubbed it this way, is to build a machine that runs successfully without me having to be involved in every aspect of it. And as we grow, it continues to get better on that. And that means that the people that are going to do the day to day and be involved with that, they have to know what the systems are. And I have to get that all out of my head. And as you grow, it just becomes more of a task.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. So let's talk about point 2, Zach.
Yeah. So thinking in terms of simple systems, and simple systems make you money, and systems help you stay organized. But more than that, there's a whole bunch of other benefits that come from it. They can help you avoid mistakes. That's one way I look at it, is like problem that we encounter. How can I put a system in place to make sure that we don't encounter that problem anymore? Helps you execute on a consistent service at a consistent quality, like I was talking about earlier, which means you have happy customers, you retain them longer, you have happy employees, you retain them longer. And as a result of having these systems in place, ultimately you save time and money. And like you were talking about, for example, a simple daily checklist. So having a simple daily checklist for your team can prevent them from forgetting to say, test all of the chemicals, or maybe they only test half of them and forget to test the other half. If they have something that's showing them this is a step process, here's the checklist, and they can stay on that. And it's always something like skipping emptying a basket or something, right? That's always the thing that comes back. And then you're sending someone out, it's costing you time and money. Or just missing things that should be invoiced for. You maybe put in a new basket and it didn't get billed. So having that checklist in place for them to be able to rinse and repeat and execute every time is important. And another one that I personally put a lot of effort into is customer communication. I feel that it is so important to have a system or a process in place that ensures that no customer calls or customer emails or voicemails are falling through the cracks, because I have found that one of the highest value things that we can offer our customer is good, prompt communication. Also, that's money, right? If we're missing a voicemail where it was potentially a heater install, that's a lot of revenue that
That's
we're
a lot of
missing
money.
out. Yeah. So we work hard to have a system, and we actually just had a meeting about effective communication a week or two ago, where we really hammered on, this is the system, this is what happens, this is who takes the call. And that's another one that I think is really important.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Zach, one of the things that I want to do is I want to do one where we maybe talk in detail as to how to set up. And I think obviously training would be probably the number one thing that people would want to start with. Let's do this. Let's take a word from our sponsors. When we come back, let's do a deep dive and let's break down the procedure for training. We'll be right back.
Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add reoccurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize NITEC, their exclusive industry-first technology. NITEC heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, NITEC creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/NITEC. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit Hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. We continue our conversation with Zach. We are talking about building processes in order to be able to scale. So, Zach, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about and do an example on how you would put a procedure in place. And I think one of the biggest things that we do as business owners is when we bring that first pool tech, we really don't put a lot of thought and process into bringing that person on and making them effective since day one, because hiring and retaining techs is tough. Let's be realistic. In this day and age, it's tough. And so there's a lot of focus that you have to do. So the faster that you can make them productive, the better it is. And systems are going to be what's going to allow you to make those people be productive a lot quicker. And it could be a lot of different things with regards to the training and adding other elements, whether it's videos or checklists or written processes or all that. And if you have a lot of those things in place, you can turn a 3-week onboarding really into 3 days. And one of the things that I always go back to, and I remember, is at the beginning, I always used to bring my techs and we did the ride-alongs. And I think that's what most people do, is they bring somebody on, they do a ride-along for a couple of weeks, and then they throw them on their own. And it's go, do what I just taught you, but do what's in my brain that I thought that I taught you, but I really didn't. And there's a lot of interesting things that you learn along the way. And for example, one of the things is that when you teach somebody and when you talk or you do a presentation, that's only like 10% of their learning, right? The biggest learning comes from when they are doing it themselves, or they're training somebody else, or they're doing the hands-on stuff by themselves. The percentage is greater, right? That's 70% of the learning. But in our mind, we just think, okay, you're doing a ride along. Hey, here's chlorine, here's trichlor, dichlor, tabs, and liquid, and cal hypo. And we have the expectation that 3 weeks from now, that pool tech is going to know exactly what each one of them does, what the pH of them is, which ones can damage plaster. And we have to be realistic. That's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen by that verbal. And so you have to put systems in place in order to be able to train them with videos and checklists, and maybe having them take, whether it's quizzes or do things to make sure that they're retaining everything that you have. So when we talk about this, I would say step number one is really identifying what needs to be taught, and really make a list of all the things that every tech needs to know. I'll share with you what I did. Obviously, proper cleaning procedures, right? Chemical testing and balancing, safety protocols, how to interact with the customers. We don't think about this, but we have to teach them how to interact with the customers, how to log the service, whether it's a book like I used to have, a binder or an app or whatever it is, and then some common troubleshooting. And I got to the point with my team, Zach, that I would go out with them and I would say, these are the 15 steps that you're going to do. And I'll give you an example of one of the things that I used to do. So I always had a cart, and my guys all had carts. What I taught them was, you need to have everything that you need to service that pool in that cart. I don't want you traveling back to the truck, because if you travel back, you're wasting time. So when you get into the backyard with that cart, there should be nothing that you need in order to be able to service that pool. And when you get there, what you're going to do is you're going to park your cart over by the skimmer. And here's why. Because the first thing that I want you to do is, and I used to use Dawn dish soap with some water, and I'd squirt it in the middle of the pool, and then it pushes everything to the edges. And then all I have to do is net around the pool. I'm not netting to the middle of the pool, right? But then I would net, and then I would come back over to vacuum. And what I would do is, the very first thing that I would do is I would grab my test kit, I would put it on the floor, and I would prime the hose. And when I went down on my knee in order to connect that hose to the vac, at that same time, I was testing my chemicals, and I was trying to reduce the amount of times that they're bending over and they're kneeling down to step down, step up, step down, right? So I wasn't just looking at just the procedures, but what are those repetition things that in the long run might be an issue? So I used to make them, and I would go with them, and I'm like, this is the way that the pool is going to be cleaned, and these are the exact steps that you're going to take. And when I come out with you, I want them done in this order. And that did a couple different things, right? It allowed me to track the amount of time that they would take at every pool based on what I taught them. And then I would have a good idea of how that was. Number two, I knew that if a customer called me, I knew what the process was that they were doing. So I would be able to talk to the customer about that process and the cleaning and the steps that they needed to do, right? And then it all went back all the way even into getting back into the truck and writing what the readings were at, what chemicals they added, and the time that they finished that pool. And having that in writing, Zach, did a couple of different things. So if I was to be at your house every Tuesday by 10, and in the book, I would always see 10, 10:15, 10, and all of a sudden I'm writing 11:15, I know I'm way off track. So now that gives me a little bit of a sense of urgency to be able to keep my track and make sure that I finish my work within that 8 hours that is assigned to me. But at the beginning, I was guilty. I just brought on a tech. I threw him in the truck. He rode with me for a while. I talked to him about chlorine, pH, alkalinity, CYA, all that kind of stuff. And then I threw them out into the field expecting them to know everything. And I had some aha moments. I had some aha moments when I had a pool guy that spent $1,000 in chemicals a week because it was the wintertime and he was adding more chlorine just because he was afraid that the pools were going to turn green. And I noticed that was a lack of education. That lack of education cost me a lot of money. Now, I had some things put in place, Zach, and that was that obviously every week I was checking chemical costs and chemical expenses, and I was able to catch that within that week. But if I didn't catch that, that would have been 4 weeks. That would have been $4,000 worth of chemicals that weren't needed. So it's really sitting down and looking at what needs to be taught to that employee, but more importantly, writing it all down.
Yeah. And then once you've gotten to that, I think step 2 would be creating the actual training materials. And I know this is a huge barrier for a lot of business owners because it takes a lot of time an effort to sit down. But the beautiful thing is, once you have that in place, like you'll gain a lot more time. So that initial gathering of information and putting it all together can be tough. And it takes a lot of time away from the business to train someone. And then a lot of times you lose them 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, whatever, it's too hot or they just weren't cutting it. And then you have to start that process all over again. So when we're talking about training and building a system for it, it needs to be more than just doing the ride along, like you were saying, and kind of showing. And that's something that over the years we've continued to tweak and improve is our training process. And one thing that I've found is that there needs to be some training materials provided to the trainer and the trainee, because when you get to the point where someone else is doing it instead of you, you have to make sure that they're following the right process, because it starts to spread if they're doing it the wrong way and you start getting more and more people trained by them. It becomes a big problem that you have to overcome. And I had that kind of aha moment, and I'm going to name drop Eugene again. And you know exactly the moment I'm talking about, when he was on the podcast and he talked about that. And I immediately was like, oh, it makes all the sense in the world. And I went back and I sat down and I probably spent weeks hammering out the trainer version of the manual and a trainee version of the manual. And since then, it's being tweaked and tailored to what we need. And some of the things, like as far as examples of what you could be putting in place as far as training materials, could be written guides or checklists, going over that step-by-step procedure that you're talking about, videos to show them exactly how to clean and treat a pool. You can record yourself doing it. I've seen some interesting stuff. Someone sent me a video they made with the Meta glasses and they were out there, and I was like, wow, that's actually a really brilliant idea. And then having days where you shadow them and you're kind of setting the expectation or making corrections where needed. And I think taking a step further, like having some in office training, because a lot of times when people are out on the job, it can be high stress, it can be hot, it's raining, and sometimes they're wanting to impress you, and maybe they're not asking questions if they have a question. So I think maybe being in a more controlled environment to where you're covering some of this information could be really helpful. And going back to videos, I think that's the way the world is going. And I've already mapped it all out and I've got all these videos planned, and you only have to record it once and then you can repurpose that and use that forever. And it was, for me, I was thinking about it, and a lot of the people that we interview, they come in and they have this idea of what cleaning a pool is like. Well, it may be completely different of an idea than what it actually is. So how beautiful would it be to have an onboarding day where you're like, here's a video going through the exact process of what you're going to be doing each and every day. And so we're looking at things like that. And like you said, people retain, Doreen's talked a lot about this, they retain information differently. So I think to have a truly effective training program, the materials should be delivered in different formats. You should have written, you should have audio, you should have video, you should have in field showing them, you should have maybe where they're teaching you the process after you've taught them. So I think having a combination of all of that would be really valuable.
Yeah, and it's what we talk about, right? 10% of your learning is just by listening or watching and looking at a PowerPoint. And then you pick up as you watch a video, that 10% goes to 20 or 30%, right? That 70% hits when you're actually doing the work. And when we talk about learning how to do a repair, it's having the trainer stand next to you and you're doing it. And yes, it's going to take longer for that job to get done, but you're trying to teach that person, and you're not going to help them if you as a trainer go, oh, this wire goes here, this wire goes here, and this is how you program it. No, you have to let them go slow and struggle stripping the wires and teaching them. But your learning is a lot bigger at that stage. So I agree with you 100%. You have to create all those environments in order for them to do it. And then let's be realistic. When you train people like that, they feel better about themselves. They feel that you're investing the time. They feel that you're making them successful. And so it feeds to them wanting to stay because they know that they're going to learn and they're going to be able to progress.
I had a perfect experience with Jennifer when she first came on board. We went out to do some filter cleanings and we got to the first one and we were kind of like, how do you want to approach this? And then she's like, why don't I show you like I'm teaching you? And I was like, okay, perfect. And she went through step by step. So the first thing you're going to do is da 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 da, and then you want to do this for this reason. And then the next step would be this. We did one filter clean. I was like, all right, let's move on to the next thing. You got it, you know? So it truly shows you that someone has the knowledge and they know why they're doing these different things.
Absolutely. So I think step 3 in that process would be to build a training schedule. And this is going to be really important. You have to create it so that it's repeatable for every new hire. And an example of this would be day 1 to day 2, introductions, safety, basic service. And those first 2 days, those are going to be the things that you focus on. And from the previous step, now you have documentation that you're going to give them, or you're going to have the videos, but you've created this. And now you know this is going to be taught on day 1 and day 2. Every single pool tech that comes on day 1, day 2 is going to be the introduction. It's going to be safety, and it's going to be basic service. And just remember that just as you were overwhelmed when you started, you have a new pool tech. And so I always give the example of just even mastering the difference between pH and alkalinity is so confusing, right? And you get that down the road. But remember, you have to keep it basic at the beginning before you can move them on. And then maybe you do day 3 to day 5, right? Assist with the lead tech with supervision. So like with Jennifer, with your route manager, now that person is going to lead that person maybe out in the field, and they're going to supervise the work that they're doing and that safety that they learned and the basic service that they learned. Okay. Maybe week number 2, you run a simple route with spot checks and feedbacks. And this doesn't have to be exactly what it is. I'm just saying, pick day 1, day 2, day 3, day 5, week 2, what it is that they're going to do. And then this way, every tech is going to follow the same learning curve. And that's really important, because what you don't want to do is, I'm going to teach Zach one way, I'm going to teach John another way, but I'm going to have the expectation that they're going to both complete the same thing in the same way that I want them to do that. You can't have that. That's why you're building systems to make sure that every step is followed the way that you need it to be done in order to be able to scale. So really important. And you need to put this schedule together and really make sure that nothing gets skipped.
Yeah. And then the next step would be to document and review. And after you've finished the training process and you've completed that timeline, how do you sign off that they've learned, that they understand the competencies that you've taught them and the tasks that they need to complete? They have to prove in some way that they've learned properly from the training, because if you just let them go on their own, I've noticed that people, a lot of times, are nervous to speak up or say, I need help, or I didn't understand this. And they just go on doing the same thing. And then if they're not doing it right, it can lead to frustration or a dissatisfied customer because something's being skipped or whatnot. So if you have them prove in some way that they've understood, they've taken what you've taught them, they can apply it, they understand why they're doing it, you can find out if there's something that they don't understand, then you can go focus on that and retrain them on that. And this is something currently that we're starting to work on and implement, is the follow-up. Because like you said, like understanding the relationship between pH and alkalinity, it's like, on one hand, if we want to arm them with every single thing to make them effective tech, I mean, we've all been doing this years and years. I've been doing the Pool Boys for 15 years now. And it's like every day I learn something new, or I learn something that I understood incorrectly and now I understand it. And it's like, how do you compact that into a 2-week training for someone? So you have to have a process to follow up. And you look at the training and it's, what do they need to know? What is very important for them to need to know to get out there and be able to do the job successfully? And then at what points do we revisit and check in and see how they're progressing in their quality of or understanding of the job? And then as time goes on, you can start to trickle in more of that education to build them. Because the first manual I built, here's your 27-week training, and it's, no company has the ability to invest that much, at least at our size. We don't have the ability to invest that much, only to have someone quit 3 weeks after their whatever 30-week training or whatever it is. So that is why it's so important to create it to where you're building it in a way that they can get out there and do it, and then following up on that.
Yeah, and it could be really that 30, 60, 90 day process that you do of training and those check-ins and that continued education. And one of the things is, if you're building this from scratch, don't try to make it 365 steps because you think everything needs to be in there. Just start somewhere, add it. And then you're like, oh, I forgot about this and that. You go back and you add these other things. There's nothing wrong with creating a process to get to the finish line. Don't think that just because, oh gosh, I only know these 3 things. No, right? Put something into play. Don't just sit back and think that because it doesn't look perfect, because it doesn't look good, because you haven't checked with 5 people to make sure everything's right, that you're going to wait to start it. No, start somewhere, create something, and then continue to add to it. And over time, you're going to have that powerful tool. And you're going to train somebody, you're going to forget something, and then you're going to be like, oh, I got to add that to it. The next person that comes, I got to train them X, Y, Z.
Yeah, because I can guarantee that having something is better than having nothing. You will have better results, and we all fall victim to the whole analysis paralysis.
100%. So an example for education, just really simple. Step number 1, identify what needs to be taught. Step number 2, create the training materials. Number 3, build a training schedule. And then number 4, which is huge, is document and review. And if you're not reviewing and you're not going back, you're going to have problems in your hand, because it's really important that you make sure that they know what they're learning and that you review what you've taught so that you can build on it. And then you put those steps into place, and then boom, now you have a training system in place. And yes, it might be small at the beginning, but it'll grow into what you need it to be. And it's really going to take your new techs from not having no idea of what they're doing to being confident and consistent quickly at what they're doing. Anyone on your team can train. The next new hire should be one of the goals of this, is putting something in place that if you give it to anyone on your team, that they can use it to train somebody. It's going to reduce errors. It's going to improve service. And it's really going to start to make your company scalable, which is important. Zach, let's do this. Let's take a word from our sponsors. When we come back, I want to get your final thoughts.
Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add recurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos-Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize NITEC, their exclusive industry-first technology. NITEC heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, NITEC creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/NITEC. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. We continue our conversation with regards to building systems in order to be able to scale and talk about that third habit of highly successful companies, and that's that they build processes in order to be able to scale. Zach, I know that on here we've got a couple other things. I think some of these other ones will be great podcasts as we break them down. But for now, let me get some final thoughts.
Yeah, just before the break, we kind of went through a step process of getting a system in place. And the nice thing is you take that template and then you can apply it towards whatever system that you need to get going. Keep it simple at first. You can always elaborate, you can always tweak, fine tune as things go on. I can guarantee that if you spend hours and hours and days and you finally get it out, 2 weeks later, you're going to be back in there going, I forgot about this. I didn't think about that. So it's good to get something going, try it out, and then you'll have a better understanding of some of the things that you're missing. And I think the whole goal is setting your people up for success. We talk about this industry's high turnover and we kind of default to the whole like, oh, the workforce stinks and people don't want to work anymore. And I think the reality of it is, no, we're just not setting people up for success to truly unlock their capabilities. Josh has talked about servant leadership. I'm on this mission right now. And it's like changing the mindset from no one wants to work and people just, this is a too hard of a job. Most people don't understand it. They can't learn it, to like, what systems can I put in place to prop people up and give them the best chance at succeeding? And at the end of the day, not everyone is going to succeed, but at least we know that we have things in place that are going to allow more people to succeed. So I think this is very important stuff. It is consistent with all of the businesses that we see achieve growth. I think at a certain point, I've seen businesses achieve growth without systems. And sometimes I'm scratching my head and I'm like, man, they figured out something that I haven't been able to figure out. But I think at the end of the day, you're building on a very shaky foundation. And the higher you build that building on that shaking foundation, the more problems that you're prone to encounter. So definitely something that you should be thinking about.
I am going to leave you with two things. One, at the end of the day, we talk about freedom from business and to be able to do some other things. So I'll leave you with these two things. Is at the end of the day, freedom is one of the main reasons why we went into business. And systems aren't changed. They're actually going to give you your freedom back as you scale and as you start to grow. It's going to give you freedom to hire, freedom to scale, and freedom to step away without worrying if things are falling apart. So the sooner that you start building them, the sooner that you're going to start running that real business that you envisioned. Number two, without a training system, every hire is going to feel like going from zero. It's going to feel like it's chaos. You're not going to have a starting point. But once you build one, every hire is going to feel like plunging into a machine that's going to produce confident and reliable employees. That applies not just to the pool business, just to any business, right? You train them and you're creating those confident, reliable employees that you need them to do. And that's how real businesses grow. Focus on that, focus on putting systems in place. We have seen that all the successful companies are those that have all these systems in place, even to the smallest of things that have been a point of failure for them. So anyways, Mr. Zacharias, hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for jumping on. Hey, we didn't talk about John. John was out today. He was running around trying to catch up, doing some stuff. I think he had 2 or 3 bead blasts and he had some equipment stuff to do. And he was kind of all stressed out and Zach allowed him to take it. Zach gave him a free pass.
He free passes me on Wednesdays. So it's the least I could do.
So Zach was like, here's your free hall pass for this episode. He appreciated it. So anyways, I hope that everybody enjoys this. We will talk about a couple other ones as we come up. What we'll do, Zach, is we'll finish talking about the other 2 habits. And then what we can do is come back to some of these other ones that people can put in place. One of the ones that I want to talk about is customer retention. That's so huge as you start to scale and as you start to grow. So let's put one together. Let's share one with all the steps that people should put in place in order to be able to manage that customer retention. So anyways, hope everybody has had a great weekend and we'll catch you next week on the Instagram Live. Have a great one.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Pool Nation Podcast, a member of the Pool Nation family. You can listen to us live every Friday here at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You can find us at Pool Nation or poolnationpodcast.com, on Facebook, or on Instagram at pool.nation. And to find more info about Pool Invoice, the billing software built specifically for the pool industry, go to poolinvoice.com. Before you go, this is what the pool industry has been waiting for. Poolmanuniversity.com. It's the first platform dedicated to learning the swimming pool service and repair industry. A pool service community where you can connect and find videos on business, service, water chemistry, and repairs. See you there at poolmanuniversity.com.